Well, welcome back to the shed. Sorry about the unusual view. It's my new toy, a magnifying lamp. Comes in very useful when your sight's starting to go, because you're getting a bit old, shall I say. I've got here an old Philips stereo cassette recorder with a built-in amp. It's the little brother of the N2405. This one is the N2405. Now this needed quite a lot of re-engineering to make it go again. For one thing, the pinch roller here was as dry as a bone and wouldn't grip. And as if that wasn't enough, there was something the matter with the motor control system as well. Now on these old decks, they're a little bit different to what you'd normally expect, because on a modern deck, most of the time the motor control is built into the motor here, isn't it? But on these earlier ones, there's a reverser group down there, and then the wires lead from there to this control module. And on this particular design, among others, the yellow wires control an automatic stop feature which works in all functions. Only thing it doesn't do, oddly enough, is pop the buttons back up, but at least it does save your tape from getting eaten. Now the adjustment is here on this tiny little pot there. What happened to this one was that we had a little bit of capacitor trouble. There's a tiny weedy capacitor, which you can see there, and it's bulging. It's actually pushed some of the innards out from inside itself, and it's only 0.68 microfarad on this particular control module. They did differ down the years, but I've put a 1 microfarad cap in there, and all seems to be well again. Because whatever you did, whenever you played back, there was a high-pitched whining sound coming from this side. Very, very faint, but enough to be noticeable. Of course, you could imagine the state the belts were in. Yes, yes. Non-existent, just a load of old goo, like molten licorice they looked. Tar, gone too. This unit has a magnetic take-up spool clutch. Not something you find on every Philips machine, but it eliminates the felt pad and the spring and so on that tend to wear out. Inside there's a magnet and a circular iron affair, and they don't touch, they simply rely on the magnetic drag to pull the take-up spool around, and it works very well indeed. It really will last for years and years and years. This particular machine would have been made, I don't know, probably around 1974, somewhere along there. And I haven't had to do a thing to that clutch, apart from, of course, clean up all the goo from the belts. Another problem was a loud hum from the amplifier, and that was cured by changing this capacitor here. There's another one to do there as well. It's probably worth doing the two of them. As usual, they're the they call them back seals, don't they? It's yeah, strange design. There's a lead comes out at each end instead of both from one end. But yes, well, I know what I want anyway. In addition, we've got a brand new playhead, carefully lined up. I made my wife laugh because I've got this. It's El Cheapo nail varnish actually, but it looks authentic. It's what Philips seemingly used to lock the nuts on the head adjustment. This one you can adjust on either side of the head too. You haven't got just the one side, you have to do both to make sure the head is in proper alignment. Yeah, oh dear, and so the plot thickens. But I have to say, it was in nice clean condition. It's probably quite a high mileage unit. It's been well loved, shall I say. A final thing was that the little bulb in here that lights up the VU meter, you can see him there, was open circuit, and so I fitted a white LED, but it's a warm white LED, so it still has that old-fashioned warm glow to it. You can't just put it in as it is. There has to be a current limiting resistance, which is here. I'll shrink sleeve that presently so that it looks more professional. But apart from that, it all seems to be in pretty nice shape. And it does sound rather nice, I have to say. Now, the automatic stop system on this has to be fooled when you're using pause. And you can see it's all mechanical. It just withdraws the pinch roller from the capstan a tiny bit. And it also withdraws the clutch here from the take-up spool a little bit. And it also short circuits a switch, sending the false impression to the control module here that no, we're all right, we haven't jammed or what have you. Anyway, let's see what she does sound like. Matron, get the mop. I think we've had an accident. Certainly sounds like it, doesn't it? Suitably farty. But what I was doing then was actually setting the speed control, because of course by using a different capacitor it may only be a fraction out, but it does mean that I had to adjust the speed controller very, very slightly, that's all. That's usually all they take. The motor regulates at about 3 volts on one of these, so it is possible, and I have done it, to replace this motor with a more modern affair. And sometimes you can't help it, because as you see it's very much a sealed unit, and you can't really get into it all that easily. So sometimes it's a case of needs must when the devil flies, I'm afraid. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this trip back in time. I've got the casing for it over there in bits. and of course there is the bigger machine that's got roughly twice the power output. I think they were AD161 and 162 germanium transistors. This one uses the familiar AC 127 and 128 type, so it'll have about half the output. But the good news is they are working, they haven't gone funny, unlike me. Anyway, see you again soon, and well, have a smashing day and a better one tomorrow. Ta-ra for now. And there we are. A useful trick with these is that, as some of you will know, there's a little belt that does the rewind and fast forward inside these. The cost of them is shocking from some suppliers, but don't lose heart, because if you've got one of those old-fashioned hardware shops near you, and I'm lucky enough to have that, you can just slip down there and get a plumber's O-ring with a suitably thin wall section, circular in section of course. It doesn't matter. They're made of neoprene, so they're not going to go rotten or anything like the original did, and they should last for quite a while. So yeah, that's a little other tip. Next time I do one, I'll have to remember, if I can remember what I'm saying, to measure the diameter, so that perhaps other machines like this can be got going. The same little belt is fitted to the EL3302 with the peculiar push button thing like so, a little lever in the middle. And all they did with this one was to make it slightly more user-friendly by putting in the usual piano key controls. And you can see there that the white LED is doing its thing quite nicely. The VU meter, by the way, on these only operates during recording. So if you're thinking, if you've got one, it doesn't seem to be flitting back and forth during playback, it's not supposed to. It's only for recording. Recording is non-automatic. You need to adjust this control so that at very loud passages it just about goes into the red. And one last thing, the thing will play ordinary tapes. It likes the old TDK 8090 tapes, but you probably won't get much joy trying to record onto a chrome one, say, although it will play the back quite happily. Anyway, so that's it. This one seems to be cured of its various maladies, and as usual, thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.